Hi guys, there's a clip of the newest Reform MP going somewhat viral at the moment. She stood up at the lectern and called herself a bit of a moron. While that may be right and a bit funny, what she had to say around the comment is something that I and others have been shouting from the rooftops for ages. You need to have a presence online. You need to use these powerful tools to reach more and more people. And it seems traditional parties like the Conservatives, Labour, and even if you can believe it, the Greens are falling behind and allowing Reform to leap ahead.
The campaign team there were amazing. The digital team, oh my goodness, because I am useless at Twitter and Facebook and all that. Oh my God, my kids say, "Mum, you're such a moron." But luckily, there was a whole team of very talented youngsters who sorted all that out and helped me no end with all of that stuff. By the end of it, we were really slick, I think, with those videos and feeding that social media beast. And in fact, one night, my son, my eldest son, Harry, he texted me and went, "Mum, just sat in bed with his girlfriend," a bit dodgy, but they are getting married. He said, "We're just watching you on TikTok." I was like, TikTok? I don't even know how to get onto TikTok. I wasn't even sure that I had a TikTok account. So anyway, apparently that made me quite cool.
Okay, let's leave the moron comment for a moment. But what she's saying here is extremely interesting and extremely important for political parties. Digital reach is extremely important. Now, is this what swung the election? Of course not. It helped, but it wasn't what swung the election. You still needed people to come out and vote. But I'm seeing a parallel here between what Reform are doing with social media and what Donald Trump's campaign did in the run-up to the November election. They were online. They were using TikTok. They were using other social media tools. But in particular, there's a guy called Joe Rogan who has a podcast called The Joe Rogan Experience. Donald Trump went onto that podcast. Joe Rogan has millions of followers. Now, not everyone who listens to Joe Rogan agrees with Joe Rogan. I have a lot of criticisms towards him. But Donald Trump went on and he was pretty much unchallenged, which is another problem, but we'll talk about that another time. But he had access to people who would normally switch off the TV when Donald Trump appeared on. So there was a way for Donald Trump to speak to people, have a conversation, a long-form conversation with Joe Rogan, and allow people to have a listen. Now, not everyone would have been convinced to vote for Donald Trump as a result of that, but it gave him access to people who would normally not listen to him. Kamala Harris refused to go on. Now, I'm not saying that was the reason that she lost, but it certainly damaged her. Nigel Farage has over 2 million followers on Twitter. Now, do all of those followers agree with him? Of course not. But it means that he's able to pump out material to people who would not normally listen to him or not normally agree with him. This channel, this YouTube channel that I run, it has more followers, more views, I should say, more views than the YouTube channel of the Labour Party. The Labour Party, who has millions, I think hundreds of thousands of members. The Labour Party is huge. How is it possible that this channel, which is run by me and supported by volunteers, members, and Patreons, how is it possible that that has more reach than the Labour Party and the Conservative Party? It's insane. But that's the reality of the situation. If you want to access people who disagree with you, you need to get a bigger reach online. Reform are using whatever money they have and they're dumping it into, people who are tech savvy. As she pointed out here, youngsters who are really good at technology. They're investing in that because they know that, a message can reach hundreds of thousands of people very quickly. And you can use these clips from Nigel, or you can use these clips from Lee Anderson or whatever to reach so many people. While the traditional parties like Labour and the Conservatives are doing nothing in comparison to what Reform are doing. And they're being left behind. I'm not saying that this is what swung the election, but it certainly had an impact. And I think the parties especially the Greens, who are generally a party of young people, really need to up their game. Otherwise, they're going to be left behind.